computer. So great to see you all. And lesson 6, self-image, and it goes deeper than you can imagine, just like all the lessons that we've actually gone through. Every single lesson, especially as we've gone through it the second time, third, when I've gone through them 3, 4 times, is that it is so much deeper. But to understand that everything that we do here is the baseline. It is the absolute baseline. If you get lost in anything, you know you can come back to one of these lessons and get yourself absolutely focused. Now, every time I do a lesson, I think, oh, this is the absolute pinnacle. This is the center of all these lessons. And actually, I've made this one the center, not just the lesson 5, which is all your intellectual faculties. And if you don't get that right, then everything else falls apart as well. But the self-image is something that's really, really key. And one of our inner circle girls, Danielle, I mean, that is one thing that she worked on. Now, she worked on this self-image for 3 years. And you can really see everything that she said in her self-image script come true today. I mean, they were on a private jet, the three girls, hired a private jet, went to New York shopping and came back. Well, why not? There you go, Amanda. There's absolutely no trouble in spending money whenever you've got it there. It's only £6,000 for the day to hire a private jet and go for lunch in New York.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, sorted.
Sorted. So just to remind you that you think things, and what you think you will feel, but it's not necessarily all the time that you're actually feeling anything. And I think for a lot of us on this call, where we're very intelligent people, I include myself in there as well, is that we intellectualize things way too much rather than dropping them straight into the heart center and concentrating on the heart. Now, listening to Greg Braden.
Love that one, by the way. Yeah. Just want to say that.
And he, it's about putting your hands on your heart, like your fingers, because where your fingers touch, you will actually start to focus on. And if you put it there and start to think feelings like, care, appreciation, gratitude, compassion, and breathe really slowly, your body feels safe and you actually move into your heart rather than being in our heads. And so many times for myself that I think that I have been doing this material, but it didn't go into my subconscious. If you're not getting the results, it's not in your subconscious. So you sort of go think, and then you sort of like, your subconscious is still acting on last week's, last month's, last year's, last 10 years instructions. You're getting results and you're like, and I don't like these results. It means it's not in your subconscious and you're only thinking it. Because if it was in your subconscious, you would be getting different results. So that was certainly something for me, that just because it's in your head all the time, that's not where it's supposed to be. Really take the time to stop, touch your heart, and actually think of yourself and your thoughts from there and come from the heart and not from the head. There's so many stories, about that, how important the heart is. And there's 40,000 or whatever it is, neurons. What's amazing, like that, we think that the brain is what is, keeping us alive. But if the brain gets stopped, like say we cut the brain out of somebody's head, it would stop immediately. But when you do when people are having heart transplants, when they take the heart away, it still pumps. It's like, got it. So who's the brain in this? Is it your brain or is it your heart? What's keeping us alive? And so if you can think a self-image, but that's just one thing. You've got to feel your self-image. You've got to feel it. Otherwise, we're just going round and round in circles. Absolutely. So we've got to get a new model in, but you've got to feel it. It's got to be felt. So how do we get the new model in? One thing I want you to remember is, now I know that you were showing us there, Amanda, your finished room, is that you are perfect inside. It's not about trying to improve yourself. It's becoming more aware of your perfection. Yeah, that is such a subtle shift in how you're thinking about yourself, because you've got code around yourself, constant code. They're stories. They're just stories. If you don't like the story, make up a new one. But remember that you are absolutely perfect. And the only reason we try to change something is because we've listened to somebody else's opinion. And like, even whenever we're thinking about, oh my God, what affirmation should I write down? What goals should I have? How should I write my affirmation? Should I say it? Should I, like just imagine it? Or, should I be writing it down? Here's the thing, whatever you're in alignment with is right for you. And it's that constant questioning of yourself which gives you the doubt. And it's like, I put the post on about, in the Bible, it reads so many times, or I like to say it now, there was a wee man quite a long time ago said about, the righteous will inherit the earth. He also said to cast your nets on the right side. And he also said that, and it was also said that the Son sits at the right side of the Father. And it's all about right and being right. There is no right and wrong in this world. It's really are the center of your universe. And as you study more and more and more, and you go off on a tangent in different geology and quantum physics, etc., and you really do understand that you are the center of your own universe, then it can only be right for you. Just because you ask somebody else's opinion, immediately you get their filters. There's absolutely, no point in asking anybody else's opinion. The best thing to do, isn't it, is that whenever you've got a problem, you look at one of the lessons, or you read an article and you ask yourself the question and see what comes up, and give yourself time for that answer. Now, what I loved was what do you call it? This is David, my mentor's drawing. It was hilarious, but I'd like to go through it again. He's got here spirit, God, formless, substance, source, whatever it is you want to call it, comes into our heads and we get an idea. And then we start to reason with it. We use our imagination, we use our intellectual faculties, and we actually sort of like figure out, is that something we want? And then we create, and that's our intellectual mind. Then we create an emotional connection with it. And because we've made a decision and we've made an emotional connection. And say, what the D and the P here is for is to do with desire versus your paradigm. When you've made a decision, you've got to accept that decision and then let it go into the subconscious. So it's come from consciousness itself. It comes into your little thinking mind here, your 3-pound brain. It conceptualizes it, reasons with it, has an imagination. Now you've got to let it go back to spirit, formless substance, source, universe, whatever you want to call it, and let it go again. But here's where the fight begins. And if you don't have a fight, you haven't let it go. You're still working on the 2 planes, which is intellectual and physical. Remember, there's 3 planes: spirit, intellectual, and physical. If you're not having an emotional fight, your desire versus your paradigm, it's not going into your subconscious. It's just not, you're driving your results from your own, intellect, which you can do, but eventually that gets exhausting. It really, Bob was on his call was it yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday. And all he said was, let. And then he says, write it round the house, put it on a post-it, stick it everywhere, let. And what's amazing is that, so you pass it across to your, to your subconscious. It then tells you what to do. So you go back up into your thinking mind again, and you take all the actions, and then spirit makes it come into form. Why do we need to be here, for God's sake? Why can't it just do it? Go straight to the point. So, but yeah, it's that fight that's in the middle there, really, that the desire versus the paradigm. And I would say that that's something, because I've tried to change, I'm changing something, and my desire and my paradigm is having the most massive fight ever. Did you see the, I don't know if you saw, Lois, the, on Facebook, the little child, whenever you overthink a situation and there's a little child and it thinks it's drowning.
Terrible. That poor little thing.
And then he stands up. And when I saw that again today, I just laughed at myself and I went, oh my God, that's me. That's me. Just having an absolute fit. And then you go, when something moves into place and you sort of stand up and you go, what was that all about? I was sort of having a bit of an overreaction. But that's what's going to happen. And that's why people have the terror barriers, isn't it? And you don't want to let go at that stage. This is where you want to grab hold of it and you want to start controlling things. But it really is about, and there's a lot of work to be done there on using your intuition. And that is something that really just comes with time, about understanding and how to listen. Like Wolfgang got it the other day when he looked at the umbrella, decided not to take it. I saw him look at the umbrella, decided not to take it, went to London and got absolutely drenched. So, he was told, but he just completely ignored it. So that literally just comes in time. So here's the real work. Your self-image, you really, what you want to do is to fit it into, either one of these little things, or, have a picture in mind of what you're actually going to look like. But that's all external. At the end of the, like what car are you in, like what clothes do you wear? They're all part of it. But if you concentrate everything there, you're actually missing the point. And when you go through everything that we've done, the 12 lessons, and to go through every single lesson, and what I'm going to do is I'll create a little form so you can literally go through this yourself and sort of, write things from it. So you've got it, so you don't need to write this down, but that you literally take the time to write these all out in detail. But then it's about bringing it back to something small, something that you can visualize, because it's got to be something that you can carry with you at all times. Now, before you start to look at your self-image, you want to know what your definite chief aim is. Not just your goals, but what is your definite chief purpose, your definite chief aim. And if you need to know anything about that, it's all about faith, chapter 3 in Think and Grow Rich. And you've got the confidence formula there. And it's saying about really, I really do understand my definite chief aim, because your goals may not drive you every day, and you've got to let go of your goals at some stage and not have them at the forefront because they're being worked on anyway. But it's your purpose that drives that desire. Whenever you think, oh, I feel tired, I don't want to do this, what's the point? Then, you can think of your purpose, and woof, that will come, and that will override your paradigm. That is the only thing that's going to beat the hell out of your paradigm, and your paradigm is going to put up a hell of a fight. So the bigger the fight, the bigger the win you're going to have. So just looking at all the different lessons. So, your self-image, come from your goal. But people ask Bob, how often in a day do you have your goal in your head, like that you are the person that you think you are, and you're coming from that? And he said 80% of the time. Now, how many, even the inner circle, there was nobody there. They were more like, maybe 30, 40, 50% of the time would say that they're actually coming from the place of their goal, of what it feels like to be that. So this is what we're aiming for, guys, is that not just that we have a morning image and a morning routine, and maybe even a lunchtime routine, and maybe even an evening routine, but that we're coming from this person all day. Absolutely all day. In that little book from lots of times ago, it actually says pray without ceasing. So this is like gratitude, being grateful for who you are, and oh my God, I've got this and I've got that. Aren't I just so wonderful? Because if you did have everything you wanted, you would be walking around in gratitude, wouldn't you? Like if I was in Sandycroft right now, I'd be getting up in the morning and going, oh my God, thank you so much. Thank you. I am just so lucky, so it's about coming from that place 80% of the time. Wow. It's quite a big thing. So you've also created, so when you look at, again, when you're looking at your self-image, what is the knowing doing gap of that person? Have you closed that completely? Because it's one thing knowing the path and another thing walking the path. Have you walked the path, in your head as to when you are the person that you say that you're going to be? What is that? Do they have knowing doing gaps? And how did you close them? Because when you're asking your future self, how did I close those paths? Then you know what to do today. It's just asking those questions all the time, So, like new paradigms, because you'll have created new paradigms. We've got paradigms, and these new paradigms are like a hypnotic rhythm. What is that hypnotic rhythm? What are your new paradigms? Like you just go, well, people just sign up to me every time I speak to them. It just is. So what is your no shit Sherlock paradigm? That it just is. Like you get up every morning and you clean your teeth because you just do. So you get up every morning and you sign somebody up to whatever business, whatever it is that you're doing, because that's just what you do. What is it that your self-image just does? So the secret genie, you know, the five senses really play on this, because this is where you want to know, what do you see around you? What do you see when you look in the mirror? What do you feel like? You know, you're touching things. Are they luxurious? Are they opulent? I mean, you think like this is really like a couple of hours work, but don't you think it's worth it whenever you could actually be that person maybe in a year's time rather than 10 years time? So go through all the five senses. You know, the other one is the intellectual faculties. And that, oops, it is. Actually, paradigms, that's the one I wanted to go through when we're talking about paradigms. Remember that your paradigms control all these areas of your life, and you want to look at all these areas from your new self-image. This is what I'm saying. Self-image is so much deeper than just what you look like. You know, the beliefs, the habits, you know, your perception of things, your use of time. You know, do you drift? That's quite a big thing. You know, are you creative? We're all creative, but do we let our left brain just take over and just go, well, I'm not creative? Because you've never exercised your right brain to be creative. What's your productivity like? Are you dead efficient? What's your diary look like? Do you have it all blocked out, all the different things? Because to be honest, that looks like what it takes to actually be this, is to literally have everything blocked out as to what will happen in that time and how you handle money. You know, so your paradigms are controlling all of these areas, and you want to literally understand who this person is right to this very level. So your intellectual faculties, let me just get these here. Right, your intellectual faculties. So you know these, you know, how do they reason? You know, what is your reasoning? What is your perception? You know, how fine-tuned is your imagination? And make sure that, you know, whenever you're doing these, your intellectual faculties, because you may be thinking about them, you've got to remember to not just think, touch your heart and think of all these things as well. With all this, everything, just put your hand on your heart and just, you know, it's just an exercise. There may be another way that you can get into your heart, but it's one of the ways it's been actually scientifically proved that if you touch your heart with your fingers, that you will draw you will draw feelings to that area there, because that will affect all your results. Okay, so self-image, do this at the end, because literally this is the lesson that we're on now. Lesson 7 is the terror barrier. I mean, visualize yourself smashing the terror barrier every time you see it. You know, as Bob says, is that the terror barrier is just ignorance. It's a line of ignorance, and that's all. So, you know, what do you study? What do you read every single day? Because that's what it takes, the consistency to be reading every day. Lesson 8, all about praxis, you know, your beliefs and your behaviors. So, you know, with praxis and attitude, your beliefs, your behaviors, your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions, they've all got to be lined up with your self-image. You know, and there's no point in having an internal self-image and your outside self-image not actually matching. Everything's got to match. You know, what type of leader are you? You know, do you see the people who are like, you know, they come to you and they ask for your opinion all the time, and you inspire them? I mean, that's one thing that, you know, Manda said to me was literally about, you know, when you think about giving up and just like, oh, because your desire and your paradigm are having an absolute fight. If you have chaos inside, then the chaos happens in the outside world, which then turns you into a tailspin, which gives you a terror barrier. The only way through it is to, like, literally more knowledge, you know, the same knowledge here, do these lessons, whatever lesson it is that you feel that you need, just keep doing the lesson to take you through. But it was also those words of inspiration, you know, you inspire me because you did this, I'm going to do that. You know, it's stuff like that. What sort of leader are you? Because if you're going to have this amazing self-image and you're driving around in a lovely Evoque car, you know, it's not that it's not an ego thing. It's actually, you know, like humility more, that, you know, just like, if I can do it, somebody else can do it, and I want to help other people. And like the Evoque is just like, well, it's just a toy, because it was never that you wanted in the first place. It was the actual growth, wasn't it? Leaving everyone with increase, you know, do you do that? I mean, that's just such a simple thing to do now anyway, is to always do that. And, you know, one of the things that Bob says is write MMFI on the top of people's heads, you know, make me feel important. And if you can do that, and that's all part of your self-image. And who's your mastermind? You know, we've set up one for, you know, for RBOM. I've got one with thinking into results. But, you know, you can have a mastermind in your head with people that are really important to you. And actually you can, you know, that's what Napoleon Hill did, where he literally sat, you know, in an evening and had conversations with people. You know, I put Bob in there. I've even got my horse. Stop laughing. I can see you laughing.
I'm just thinking of that bit where Bob says, you know, just don't tell anyone because they'll carry you off, you know?
Yes.
So
all of this stuff,
having the
tell anybody.
with your horse.
I mean, I had the conversation with Manda that if I'd have told her all the stuff that she was going to be learning right at the very beginning, because this is a path where you start this path in two planes, because you're just, you know there's a spirit world, or you know there's something else out there, but you're not really quite sure. We're so used to working on the two planes, intellectual and physical, and we're forcing things through, that all of a sudden you start to move up into, oh, there's something else here. So then you go off and investigate it. And now you've ended up with all three of them. You know that you need all three to work for you to be calm, relaxed, and still have things actually happen. And it's just so funny how this journey of thinking into results takes you through that. And it's now a spiritual journey rather than, you know, but all mixed in. It's all three. It has to be all three. We can't be here we can't make things happen without a physical body. So you'll be sad to leave it one day, even though sometimes you want to try and get out of it and go, it's driving me crazy. How can I run away from my paradigm? But actually, if you run away from your paradigm, then, you've got no paradigms, but you've got no life. So, you know, so you'll also notice about your friends. You know, my friends are in that private jet going to New York, and I'm really quite happy there. And of course, Manda, you will be coming along too. And of course, everybody here, but this was a specific conversation between myself and Manda. So, you know, these are the people, and things are going to change on the external world as well. And there's no point in being sad. People will either rise with you or they won't. And you've got to keep just going on your path and focus, because that's how you're going to help people rise. Because first they may laugh at you, then they may criticize you, and then they'll ask you, hang on a minute, what are you doing? Can I have some of that? So it's not just that. I was having a look through all the articles in the book as well, and it really is things to take in. And, you know, your decision making. How quickly do you make decisions? You know, like Lois was saying, it was just one decision after another to make things happen. She had persistence that literally just, you know, nothing was getting in her way. She didn't ask anybody. She took full responsibility. Confidence sometimes wavered, but because she was in such forward momentum, actually her confidence came with her. And, you know, do you take risks? It could have been a big risk that, you know, well, what Wolfgang's doing now and what Lois has done. But that's linked with decision making as well, is that there's no right decision. You just make a decision and make it right. Just stop asking other people's opinions. Just go for it. Really, really good article to think about in your self-image, and I would recommend that you read it, is The Common Denominator of Success, which is in your book as well. You know, are you influenced by the desire for pleasing results or pleasing methods? Because if you're looking for pleasing methods, you're within your paradigm. Whereas when you're looking for pleasing results, you'll do whatever it takes to get to the result, which means you'll smash through your paradigms. So that's just something to keep in. And opulence, you know, is your mindset, is one thing doing your visualization, having all this, and you're in an opulence and you've got 50,000, 50 million, whatever in the bank account. But then as you go through your day, somebody asks you something and you're immediately and you actually verbalize, I haven't got enough, which is the biggest thing. You've just counteracted all the work that you do, because now you've actually verbalized it. You know, is there another way to say I haven't got enough? You know, just find a different way of actually, rather than completely counteracting, because it is what you're consciously aware of is what you will bring into you. Now that's a really deep exercise, but what you've got to do is to find some sort of image that depicts that person. So maybe like as you go through each of the sections that you can find some keywords that will trigger everything else. Then you take those keywords. So say you come up with maybe with, you know, I don't know, 6 keywords, but even still, that's too much. It's just too much for your brain to handle. But then you can maybe make an anagram of them, or, you know, create a person. What does the person look like? And actually draw the person out, because it's so important to have the image which stimulates your heart, which stimulates the feelings, that when you think of that person, it's straight to your heart. We don't even need to think about, you know, that's it. It's just like straight to our heart, and that's who we are, and that's how we act. Yeah, you've got to have something really, really simple. So it's quite a complicated exercise, but actually you need to make it simple at the end, so you can carry this image around with you all the time, so that you can know that you're perfect. See? So you've got some action. This is deep work, I did say. You know, your self-image script. Go through all the points, then mold them to fit an image that will bring it alive. Because the more you know about this person, you know, and then the image will literally bring it alive, and it becomes a person. Have a conversation with them. Again, don't be telling anybody. You know, people say, you know, who would you sit on a bench with and ask questions? And I actually say, well, my future self. You know, put it on, you know, record it and play it at different times. You know, there's voice loop, so you can have it on voice loop, and it just literally plays when you're in the car or whenever you're out for a walk, and you've just literally got it going in all the time. That's what Peggy McCall in her life script will actually say to do. Hers is, some people's are like 2 hours long, and other people's are like 10 minutes, and other people's are like half an hour. So it is what you want. But if you've got it on voice loop, and actually to me, the simpler the better. So you've got less to remember, but you see your whole life in front of you. You know, that, and it brings it an image, but you must remember to feel it. Stop just having it as an image in your head. It's got to be felt. You've got to literally have the emotions. So maybe you want to record some music behind it, so, and, you know, music that will bring up feelings of, you know, gratitude, whatever. You know, write it out. That Daniel Amos has written out her life script for a year, every single day. Then she would stand in the mirror and shout it and laugh and joke and smile in the mirror every single morning. You know, are you prepared to do that, to change? I mean, this is every single day. Are you prepared? She's now like on, I think about 100 grand a month. You know, are you prepared to do that sort of work to get that sort of lifestyle? You know, as a minimum to begin with, because you can't just all of a sudden throw things in, because then you mightn't do it. It's like exercise. If you do it all in one go, then you literally, you know, that's it. But as a minimum, you know, do a 10-minute voice recording, you know, and listen to it first thing in the morning and last thing at night. It's just literally as you're falling asleep and as you wake up in the morning, and act as if all day, as much as you can. I know you're going to get lost and you're in your work and everything, but the more you become consciously aware of your self-image, then that's something that, yeah, you want to do. And, you know, search on YouTube, Peggy McCall, Power Life script video. And, you know, she goes through lots of things, but I've taken everything from thinking into results. And, you know, if you go through, every lesson has something to do with your self-image, that you've, you know, that's the inside self-image, not just the external, and how you show up every time. So that is basically it. And I'm going to, oops, well, I will stop the recording on that, so then we can